Good morning, everybody. How's everybody going? Good? Enjoying your Ignite? All right. So today we're going to talk about how you can maintain or increase profitability in field service. And really, it goes across any of the Dynamics 365 modules or apps, but doing that with Power Apps. And for introductions, my name is Sean Tabor. I'm a 3-time Microsoft Business Applications MVP. I'm also co-host of the CRM Audio podcast. And my teammate, O'Neill Teixeira, helped me build this app. And he couldn't be here today, but I want to give him a shout out as well. He did a lot of hard work. So when we talk about profitability in field service, you start out a couple different ways. In the sales process, when you're quoting the work that's to be done by the technicians in the field, you're typically going through the opportunity quote to work order process. In that process, in the quoting phase, is typically where you're going to try to set the pricing, you're going to set your margins and expected profits, right? And as a salesperson, your focus is really on that profitability in closing that sale. It's a very different focus than that of the field service technician. All the variations on the proposals, you could have different permutations of which products you're going to sell, which services you're going to bundle with that, etc. And that's all happening through the quoting process. Without customization, it's a pretty standard process. In service execution, when you get to field service and the technician, your focus is on getting that job done and completing the work that's assigned. You're wanting to take a look at any kind of issues that could be within the product that you're not necessarily scheduled to take care of. For example, if you're going out to do preventive maintenance and you find that a component is busted or getting ready to fail, or if you're in a scenario where you have an IoT-enabled environment, you can have some readings on some devices that are going to give you indications of an impending problem. In these cases, you might have to modify that work order when you're on site. And then this is where you typically have a disconnect between the sales team and the service execution team in terms of profitability. The technician really just wants to order whatever parts they need to order and document whatever services that they're providing and get to the next job. They're not as concerned about profit margin per se. Now, I had a situation with a customer where they were a large telecommunications firm and they laid cable. They had a very strong edict on profitability. Everybody from the salespeople all the way down to the technicians had that focus of profit margin. So we worked with them to develop within Dynamics 365 Field Service the ability to calculate margin on quotes and move that information to the work order. When that happened, it took us about 32 hours of coding to do it. What I'm going to show you today is a no-code solution that we built since then for the work order specifically. So in our what-if scenario, you could often have, as a technician, like we said, you could be doing a preventive maintenance on, let's say, a central AC system. You could look at the condenser coils and they check out fine. You could look at the compressor that checks out fine. You could look at any of the electrical components, they look fine. Fan checks out okay, but evaporator coil is busted and it needs to be replaced. So now, that's not part of my work order. I need to amend the work order, and an evaporator coil can be quite expensive, and the service associated to it as well. Now, this is where you're looking at the customer and saying, okay, what kind of customer are they? Do they have a service contract? There's a lot of different parameters that we're looking at here, right? But we want to still maintain margin and profitability. So let's go ahead and take a look at our demo. So for those of you here at Ignite, how many of you got to go over to Disney World since you've been here? Show of hands, anybody? Nobody. Nobody got to go to Disney World while they're here? Wow, okay. Well, at Disney World, you can go to Hollywood Studios and you can see what, the Star Wars land, Galaxy's Edge. In this work order is a scenario where I went to Hollywood Studios to test out some functionality in field service, and I repaired the Millennium Falcon. So you can see my work order here is with Onaka Transport Solutions, who's currently leasing the Millennium Falcon for their smuggling runs, and Hondo Onaka is my primary contact. So you can see here that on this work order, I'm doing a preventive maintenance on the Falcon, and if I look at my products, during the preventive maintenance, I'm checking the alluvial dampers, and I'm looking at the fusion reactor too. For services, I'm doing a hyperdrive field guide flush, and I'm removing the compressor from the ignition coil. So with that, I now find that I have to add some work, and I have to do some additional work on the hyperdrive. So if I want to add products to the work order, I can see that right now my estimated subtotal amount is over 2 million Republic credits. It's a rough conversion rate between the US dollar and the Republic credit. Only $17 in sales tax. They have a tax exemption. So my estimate subtotal cost is $1.3 million. And right now, I have no indicated margin. I'm only going by what's on the price. Now what you see here, this is a embedded Canvas app. This embedded Canvas app will allow me to do a what-if calculation on my margin. So right now, my estimated subtotal amount is $600 with my services. If I put in that I want a 50% margin, you can now see that the what-if calculator shows me that I will have $2,720,000 in revenue from the products if I go with a 50% profit margin. Now I can back that out and say, well, what would it be with 35? And you can see here that in my work order products below, it's showing as well the desired margin on those. This concept can be extended to where I can manipulate the individual products and change the margins individually, or if I add additional products and have a unique profit margin per product. But right now, we're just basing a standard profit margin across the entire work order and applying it to all the products. So with that, if I feel good with the 35%, I can hit the save icon. And what that's doing is it is using a patch command and or patch function and updating my work order and the work order products. So now you can see that my work order was updated to 35%. If I go to my products and I go into the alluvial damper, and I go to my estimate information, you can now see that my desired margin on my alluvial dampers is 35%. Now, as I add products to this as well, I can update that margin across all my products. So this really gives you an easy way for the technician to update the margin and make sure that we're maintaining our standard at least 35% in this case. If I wanted to go higher, I could do that. Or if they're a valued customer and I want to give them a little bit of a break, I could either use the built-in discounting functionality, or I can adjust the profit margin across the board. So let's take a look at how we did that with the Power App. Okay. So you can see, here's my Canvas app. And it's a pretty simple Canvas app. We're pulling in the work order products using the CDS connector. We're pulling in data elements, again, using the CDS connector. And we have the simple desired margin screen, or enter. Once I click that, and if I look at my save to CE, this is a simple patch command. So what this is doing with this patch function, I am able to update in real time all my work order products that are associated to this work order, as well as using the built-in logic and functions that are within the Dynamics 365 field service work order, so that I'm not stepping over the logic that's already built into the product. I'm simply moving data to the right data points so that it calculates correctly. If I refresh, I could knock all this out with my refresh command, or I could delete it altogether with these buttons. If I look at any additional products, that will apply to them as well. So you can see, instead of 32 hours of code, I'm able to do this very, very easily and very cleanly from a UI perspective with this Power App. So let's go back. So think about this. This same kind of concept can work for quotes, for your standard sales processes, or any product that you're selling or offering. The same concept holds true, because anything where you have a parent and child relationship, such as the work order and work order products, this same application would work for you. Okay. So the Canvas app was used as a standard what-if calculator. We could extend this, and I'm going to actually extend this, to where it will be able to do what-ifs for markups. So what would happen if I marked up this particular product for the customer? Or what if I was using cost-based pricing so that I wanted to add additional markups by product? This app can be extended for that as well. Once the desired margin is achieved, all the unit prices are updated on all the work order products accordingly, and then the standard calculations built into the work order are taking shape at that point. We're not hijacking the existing processes. The capabilities, again, can be extended per product, and the calculator can also be exposed on Field Service Mobile in a couple different ways. You could either do it in an iframe, or you can do it, the way I would probably suggest doing it is by launching it from a button in Field Service Mobile, which will pass the work order information into the app. That gives a Power Apps-based calculator to your field service technician. And then they have the same robust functionality on the mobile device. Where you want to be careful with this is if you have a situation where you have requirements around quoting, especially on the fly, where you have to produce paper. In that case, we might want to look at PDF generation from the Power Apps component framework to pull those things together if you need to document that and present that to the customer prior to execution. That's everything I had, and I know I came in a little early, but I'd be happy to take any questions if anybody has any for me.